So you bought a car and you want to modify it, but you're a beginner and you don't know where to start. Well, here are the car mods you should do to your car before anything else. And the first one I recommend is changing your tires. This is probably the most forgotten and most overlooked mod you can do to your car. And it doesn't really matter if you're building a show car or a race car, a good set of high performance tires would drastically change the handling of your car as well as its visuals. Now there are different types of tires to choose from, but the main ones you probably need for your car are summer tires, winter tires, or all-season tires. They're pretty self-explanatory, so I won't go into detail, but the key differences between summer tires and winter tires is that summer tires have a dedicated rubber compound that helps it have excellent grip and handling on both dry and wet roads in warmer conditions. Winter tires, on the other hand, provide grip on road surfaces covered with snow, ice, and wet roads in cold conditions. So choosing between the two will depend on where you live and the climate. It will depend on your situation. I would normally choose all-season tires just because they can be used all year round, but that's just me. And I tend to not go out anyway when it's snowing just because it's just too cold to drive around. But that's just me. It will be up to you since we all have different situations. If you live in a much colder area where it snows a lot, then it would be wise to run winter tires, and if you live in a much warmer area, then it would be wise to choose summer tires. They are literally built for those purposes. Now that you have your tires figured out, the next step would be choosing the right aftermarket wheels. Combining a good set of performance tires with a good set of lightweight flow-formed aftermarket wheels will actually improve your car's overall performance and your car's image. Now the reason why I recommend flow-formed wheels for you beginners out there is because they're just stronger than your stock wheels as well as cast wheels. You will get better fuel economy because the wheels will just be lighter in general, and it will give you a lower rotational inertia. Your engine wouldn't really need to work as hard to keep your wheels spinning, which does mean you will burn less fuel, which results in more mileage out of your car. Flow-formed wheels can also handle a lot of stress if you're thinking about taking your car to the track. And the main thing is most car enthusiasts actually run flow-formed wheels simply because they're just more affordable than forged wheels. And I assume that you want to keep your spendings to a minimum and still modify your car, hence why I recommend a good set of flow-formed aftermarket wheels. Now let's move on to the suspension. Suspension upgrades like coilovers or lowering springs will provide a sportier feel to your car. Your car will sit lower to the ground, which will give you more confidence in taking corners due to less body roll. It will also drastically change the look of your car. Of course, it would look 1,000 times better. Now a disadvantage of lowering springs is that your car will just be stuck with that ride height because you're still using your stock shocks. You just change the springs. Coilovers on the other hand will be easier to install as you are changing the whole suspension. No need to take the suspension apart. You can also adjust the ride height of your car with coilovers, but you will just have to keep taking your wheel off to do that. Now what if you want to lower your car and still have clearance on the road? You can actually have air suspension installed as they adjust your ride height with the press of a button. These are the ones that go tss, 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 as their car lowers. You can have your car literally sitting really low to the ground when parked, and when you need to go you can raise your car so you won't be destroying your bumper when you see a dreaded speed hump. Now once that's sorted, we can move on to the sound and performance of your car. A good aftermarket exhaust will not only improve the sound of your car, it will also give your car a tiny bit of extra horsepower because stock exhausts are built with emission standards in mind and therefore limiting your car's power. For example, there is a part of your exhaust that really limits your car's power and it's called the catalytic converter. In layman's term, its only job is to filter the exhaust gases that come from your engine so it's less harmful to the environment. This will also decrease your car's performance though. This is why a lot of car enthusiasts who go to track days take their cat out for racing purposes. But for normal day-to-day driving, decatting your exhaust will probably get you pulled over and fined. Because a lot of countries, especially certain parts of the US, are really strict on emissions. So before you start decatting your exhaust, make sure to check the rules of your country. Anyway, I wouldn't recommend decatting your exhaust anyway unless you own a Mazda RX-7 or Mazda RX-8, which are great cars by the way, but those rotary engines just don't go well with cats and they tend to clog them over time. So most RX-7 and RX-8 drivers run catless exhausts. They will then put the catalytic converter back on when it's time for inspection. But for regular cars and sports cars with piston engines, I wouldn't recommend decatting if it's your daily driver. But what if you're modifying your daily driver and you still want your car to sound awesome? Well, thankfully there is such a thing called catback exhaust. Basically, you're only upgrading the parts of your exhaust after the catalytic converter, hence why it's called catback exhaust. You will still have your catalytic converter. Your car will sound awesome and will give you the satisfaction you're looking for. Front lip, side skirts and rear lip diffuser. I know body kits can be expensive, especially rocket bunny kits, but you don't need to spend on a really expensive body kit to improve your car's image. You can just install a front lip, side skirts and a rear diffuser. You will be shocked by how much different your car will look. Usually they will come with existing holes that can be paired to the bumper, or you will have to drill holes through them to bolt them into place. Most will actually come with instructions to help you install them. It's just a quick and easy way to make your car look more sporty. Now, lip kits don't just give your car an improved look, they also trick the eye into thinking your car is lower than it actually is because there is less space between the lowest part of the car and the ground. Now I want to move on to the intake. Installing a performance intake is a very common practice amongst car enthusiasts, and it doesn't matter if their car is naturally aspirated or turbocharged. They do add a tiny bit of horsepower to your car due to colder air going into the engine, but let's be honest, you don't really care about that. The main reason why people install these to their car is because they just sound awesome. There are different types of intakes you can choose from. There are the cold air intakes, performance drop-in filters, short ram intakes, exposed pod filters, etc, etc. But you need to take into account by installing one of these performance intakes, you will probably need to tune your car to actually see the performance benefits, which leads me to tuning. Tuning your car is single-handedly the best way to unlock your car's true potential in terms of performance. This is actually, if not the most important mod you will need to do to your car if you're modifying it. It's basically the mod that supports all of the other mods you've been doing to your car, especially if it's performance upgrades like aftermarket exhaust and cold air intakes, for example, because your car will just run differently. You will need to get your ECU adjusted to actually feel the gain in power. Otherwise, your car will still be making power that it originally made from the factory. Plus, you shouldn't really run your modified car without tuning it because it can cause damage to your engine. Now, there are a few ways to tune your car. The advanced way of tuning your car is wiring in a full standalone ECU. For example, Haltech makes plugins that you can just plug into your car, tune it up, and load a base map. This is good if you're going hard with mods and custom stuff. But the most common and easiest way to tune your car is by using a tuner handheld controller device that's been developed and programmed by reputable companies that you can plug into your car via OBD2 to reprogram your ECU. An example of this is Courte, and you've probably heard of them since they do a lot of tuning stuff for Subarus. Anyway, research is the best way to go about it when you're tuning your car because each tune will depend entirely on your car's setup. Performance brake pads. Now that you have added a little bit more power to your car, you would also need the power to stop it. Ideally, you would want to upgrade your brake calipers, but if it's a bit of a stretch in terms of budget, you don't really need to upgrade your whole braking system. Just upgrading the brake pads would be enough. Now later on, as you make more power, you will need to upgrade more of your braking system. But since you only put a base tune in your car, just changing brake pads will instantly enhance your car's stopping power. Although it won't technically enhance your car's look, it will certainly make your car safer to drive. The reason being is that stock brake pads only work well when you're driving in normal driving conditions. So if you're into spirited driving or you plan to go on to track day events, then upgrading to better brake pads might actually be a good idea since they can operate better on higher temperatures. And they're not prone to fast brake fade. This will give you more time to race around the track without changing brake pads anytime soon. Bucket seats. Not everyone will say that it's comfortable to sit on bucket seats, but if you don't want to slide around your car if you're doing some high-speed cornering, then an aftermarket bucket seat could be ideal for you. They keep you still and not slide around when cornering because of raised bolsters. It will literally hold you in place when you're doing some competitive driving. Plus, they also give your car's interior that sporty look, which is a nice added bonus when you install an aftermarket bucket seat. Now you know which car mods you should be doing to your car before anything else. These are generally the mods most car enthusiasts start with. I certainly did. Are there any other car modifications for beginners that I didn't cover in this list? Please let me know in the comment section below so we will be helping more people. Also, now that you know which car mods to do, you're probably looking for a car to modify. And it's important to choose the right car that you can modify that won't give you any headaches later down the road. I did a video last time on the best JDM cars for beginners, so if you're just starting out, make sure to watch that video.